And action. Autofocus test. Alright, pretty cool. My name is Jeffrey. I'm testing out the Fujifilm X-M5, so let's talk about it a bit. So I wanted a personal camera. I usually shoot on a retainer client's camera right now, and I wanted my own personal camera, obviously, to shoot talking heads, to film anything that I need to film. I wanted something with good dynamic range, a more filmic image, as opposed to just a modern, super clean with photo lenses image. So I was looking on CineD to see their test of dynamic range, and I saw a few different cameras. Then I came across the XM5, and I couldn't believe the price and how well it performed dynamic range wise. Obviously, with a grain of salt in the test that they do, they haven't obviously are not taking it out and shooting with it on on set or scene or something like that. But I still respect their tests. So I purchased that camera because I couldn't believe what was packed into it. And obviously, I'm late to the party. People have been reviewing this camera for a while, creators I like, but here I am. Let's talk about the pros. It's really an incredible camera for this price point with this dynamic range. The image, it has such a filmic image. Disclaimer, I am using this camera with a Sirui sniper lens. So it's not the native lens, it's not a native Fuji lens, which could make a difference autofocus wise as well, which we'll talk about. And image wise, it could be a more modern looking image. But I like the filmic image. I had to push my FX30 more to get it to feel like it was more like a film image. Another thing about the sensor I like about this is the array pattern. It has a randomized pixel array, which makes the noise behave more naturally, like it's not static over the entire image, which I've noticed that in the shots that I've taken. Most of these cameras that we're using nowadays obviously have great dynamic range, a good amount of latitude where you can push and pull the image. And this is no different. I feel comfortable overexposing it by a couple of stops and bringing it down. I'll show you some examples of that. I feel comfortable underexposing it and getting a nice clean image. The 1250 base ISO. Coming from the FX30, I used Cine-EI on my FX30 all the time, so I never shot in any ISO other than the base, 800 and 2500. So the reason for that is because I don't actually want to sacrifice any dynamic range in any direction. I just want to shoot it right and know that I was in a base ISO, the cleanest ISO I could get. And so I'm used to shooting in Cine-EI. But this has a 1250 base ISO. And honestly, I don't even feel the need to ever move that ISO because it's so 800 to me is like good, but it's too low sometimes because I feel like I have to augment more whenever I'm shooting things. But with this at 1250, I feel like it's just playing around with my ND a little bit more and kind of leaving the lens wherever I want. And it just has enough light in that base ISO. So I really like actually that this has a 1250 ISO as opposed to 640 or 800. Another feature with dynamic range, it has a high ISO noise reduction. Why do I like this? Because if I'm moving my ISO higher, I don't want to noise reduce in post because I have a little Mac Mini back there. It's not the most powerful computer. If you have a powerful computer, obviously you don't care about this, cool. But for me, that I have a less powerful computer, doing noise reduction in DaVinci is a pain in the butt because it starts to, you know how powerful those plugins are. So it's a pain in the butt. So I like the fact that it allows me to set my high ISO noise reduction from +4 to all the way to -4, and then I can choose if I want to add more of that back. But the spatial noise reduction in DaVinci, as you know, if you've used it, it starts to get super airbrushy the more you do it. And inside camera, I just feel like it's one less processing thing. It's one less step of processing. You can just do it right in the camera, and clearly the camera is going to do it in a more naturalistic way because it's embedded in the camera, and it's meant to work with the footage. So I like the high ISO noise reduction that you can use in a higher base ISO there. This is 6400 ISO, no noise reduction. 6400 ISO with high ISO noise reduction turned up to +4. So 1600, 2000, 2500, 3200, 4000, 5000, 6400. Obviously, that means I like the low light out of this camera. I haven't tried 12,800, but I never really was a 12,800 user anyway. Even on the FX3, when I shoot with the retainer clients FX3, don't use that a lot. So, especially I'm in Florida. I shoot a lot in daylight. I shoot a lot outside. Like, it's not something that I need to use. Okay, so there it goes. The photo. It has about 20 simulations, it says, or recipes, if like they call them, simulations or recipes. I loved it. Taking it right out of the box and just putting in macros, which I want to treat this kind of like a mini Leica monochrome with respect to that camera. And it was just so much fun to take it out of the box and just shoot some monochrome photos. It made me have fun, which cameras should be fun as well, not just this crazy gas and headache. And they should make you want to shoot and inspire you to shoot, right? So as soon as I took it out of the box, it was just so cool to use and to snap photos with it. So cool. So cool, so easy to use. The film recipes are awesome. And if you want to take 4:2 10-bit video right from the film recipe, from the film simulation, you can just press the record button instead of snapping the shutter and taking a picture. Super awesome. So for street photography, this is so much fun. And for a beginner like me, it's just super easy to get a beautiful image right away. It has the grain effect, which setting it on the low effect just gives it this subtle little grain and just makes it look a little bit more analog, which I love out of this camera. Again, continuing that filmic look thing that it has, it's really, really cool. This, with the power of video that it has, but also makes me want to shoot photos. It's truly a hybrid beast, like a hybrid little budget king. Now, I will say this. My favorite thing about this camera is the Acros film simulation. Oh man, that film simulation is so cool. I love monochrome images. I love noir images. And this thing with the monochrome is just beautiful. Like, it just makes it feel like I want to shoot a documentary so bad in black and white, or a narrative project in black and white. It is just so inspiring and so nice. If you like that kind of stuff, which I do. So that's my favorite thing. The Acros profile in here is amazing, and with a little bit of grain and a little bit of chroma effect in there, that just gives it a little bit more contrast. It's super, super cool. And yeah, so the XM5 is a surprising, unreal value, like $900. With a lens, I haven't even hit I don't think I hit $1,400. I think I hit like $1,200 with a lens and battery, 2 memory cards. The memory cards are super affordable. It's just so awesome. Let's talk about the cons. Autofocus. It's pretty good. It's pretty sticky. Eye detection, face detection, subject detection, all that stuff has worked pretty good. The only difference between this and my FX30, which kind of have similar, it's around 425 to 495 points of phase detection, which is not that far off. It's just the way Sony implements their video autofocus that is just, I took my Sony out of the box the first time I used it a few years ago, and it was just, that's it. It worked. It was no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just, I never saw the inside of the menu of my Sony autofocus. But this one, I had to finesse around and do more things, and it's just a little bit more hunty. I'll show you some images and try to zoom in where it's like hunting a bit, and that's, you know, annoying when you come from a Sony camera. The video, it's like going from Panasonic's Ibis to friggin' Canon's Ibis. Like, it's, you're gonna be like, whoa, this is so bad. It's unfortunate, right? It's the same thing with this autofocus. Not as bad, because the Canon wobble things that it does is really bad. Most cameras, to be fair, but the autofocus was like such a bummer coming from a camera like the Sony FX30 or the A7 IV or the cameras like that. That the autofocus is just so good and it just works, and you touch it, it turns to tracking, and you touch it again and you can have it off, or you touch it one more time and it's just doing all the focus points and you put it where you want. That I do miss. Another con that this doesn't have that my FX30 has, but clear image zoom. The clear image zoom is such a cool thing on an APS-C sensor, because the APS-C sensor is already giving you more reach with the lens, but then that clear image zoom just gives you even further reach, and I like that. So I do miss that from my FX30. No weather sealing on this camera, and no fan. Now, if you shoot indoors all day, or a content creator, talking heads, mostly indoor shooting, overheating, I'll show you my little overheating test I did. Overheating and weather sealing is not going to matter, right? But I live in Florida, so for me, it's actually a thing that I'm thinking about as I use this camera. Like with my FX30, I never had to think. I never had to think about taking it on a boat, or dust, or sand, or the friggin' Everglades, or wherever the hell I am. I never had to think about that, and I'm in those situations. Raining, or a freaking 20-degree rainy day in New York, on a spur of the moment shoot. Hey man, we're flying out. We're getting you a ticket. Okay, cool. I just grab my Sony, put it in the thing, in my backpack. Grab my Sony, put it in my backpack. FX30, weather sealed, fan, don't matter. This, I feel a little bit nervous. And also I tested it in 75-degree sunny weather here in Florida, which it did a great job with that. But we're in Florida, I'm in Florida. When it hits 100, which it does, that's not an exaggeration. When it hits 100 and I get a call, hey man, we're gonna shoot on this boat. Hey, what kind of boat? Oh yeah, whatever, Pontoon. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have it in broad sun, and I'm not gonna have the time to be dainty with it and precious with it. So that's something that worries me, which that's the only cons of why I might not keep this camera, is that the weather sealing and the fan. Now again, if you don't need that, if you're not shooting in those kinds of conditions all the time, this is an incredible camera. And again, I haven't gotten to test it in that weather to see how it holds up. So now, shooting in 75-degree weather, with the sun out here and running it, doing 4K 60 and full HD 120, I did that on purpose to push the camera. It did a great job. I was shooting for about an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 40 minutes, something like that, and no problems, which is really, really good. So add 25 degrees of temperature to that. Can it hold up with a fan? Mind you, I didn't have one of the Fujifilm fan that goes on the back, or an Ulanzi or small rig fan that can adapt to the back of it and cool it off a bit. So I'm pretty sure with that, it would also do a great job. So I'm not too worried about it, but if you're in very challenging conditions sometimes, I'm pretty sure you're gonna feel a little bit like you have to be more safeguarded with it. The exposure. Now, another con, I felt like with my Sony FX30, when I was shooting lower ISOs, and even the second base ISO, the color didn't shift as much. When I change exposures on this camera, I know that most cameras, if you underexpose, the lower the sensor is at getting light, what's going to happen? It's going to start to make the image darker and darker and darker, more saturated, more contrasty. Of course, every camera does that. But even on my FX30, I felt like it wasn't as the colors didn't shift so much. Like like this, when I overexpose this by 1, I feel like the camera's shifting more blue. When I underexpose it by 1, I feel like the camera's shifting more green and reddish. And then when I expose it dead center, not over or underexposed, it's normalized, right? It has like kind of this like almost reddish magenta look to it, but it can shift colors, and that could be a little extra work that I've been color grading the footage in post. Like it can shift the colors, so that's a little thing that I have to be wary of in shooting photography. Slow motion 60. I'm going to show you guys some slow motion clips out of it. I find it pleasing. I find the SNQ process I miss from my FX30, because this doesn't have SNQ for 4K 60. It only does full HD 240 and 120 to 240. So I do miss having SNQ, just slowing it down in camera. It's a one-step process in DaVinci. You just literally put it at 2.5 times less the speed or frame rate. It's not hard at all. It literally takes 0.2 milliseconds to do, like type in a number. But I do enjoy that. My Sony used to just do it right out of camera, but the slow motion footage is enjoyable. No Ibis. Okay, so this camera has no Ibis. The only issue with that is that's good for certain things, but it's bad if you're hand holding the camera, obviously, not having Ibis. And one thing I noticed with this Ibis is that you got to be careful of your autofocus settings, because it makes your autofocus behave worse when you don't have Ibis, because every shake and bounce that the camera has, it's going to make the focus jump a little bit, right? It's going to make the focus react a little bit, shaky, because it thinks you're trying to move the camera, like actually make a camera move. So just be mindful of that, because a lot of the shots I got, I would switch it through different autofocus modes and it would still be a little jumpy because I'm hand holding it. And so that could be, so this camera, if you're going to do a lot of work, I would say get a gimbal, get an RS3 Pro used, the mini. The mini can hold about 5 pounds. This thing is not even 3 pounds with a heavier lens on it. Get yourself a mini RS3 Pro, or one of those Scorp new gimbals that look pretty decent. Yeah, so you want this camera to live on a tripod or a gimbal, for the most part, unless you're taking photographs, which then I think it's perfectly fine. But yeah, for video stuff, I would get myself a little handheld gimbal, or stabilize in post. In DaVinci Resolve, it's super simple to stabilize. It crops in like a hair. If you don't over smoothen it, it cleans up those micro jitters. It does have a little bit of shake in it, but the digital IS in this camera is going to shake worse. The wobbles are going to look even worse if I put the digital IS on this camera on. So that's not even an option. It looks like garbage. It just makes the whole thing warble. So I'd rather just do it in DaVinci, which adds a little bit of shake when it's heavy jitters. But yeah, so IS, if I keep this camera, I would be doing it in post. Okay, so for this little troubleshoot, I was having trouble getting the Fujifilm LUTs that I downloaded from their website into the DaVinci Resolve player. It wasn't like going on to the clip, and I went through a deep rabbit hole in Reddit and found a simple solution, which I don't know if you guys already knew this, but I didn't know that. You just take the backslashes off of the name of the LUT, and then you obviously re-update your list in DaVinci Resolve, and then it should work then. If it's another issue past that, I don't know how to fix that. But if it is that issue, just try removing the backslashes, and it should be able to apply to the node that you are using, because it wasn't working before. It would show nothing at all, or any change to the node, to the footage. But man, 6.2K open gate, awesome autofocus, great battery life for how small it is. incredible set of features, so much customizable parameters in the camera. Easy to use though if you just want to take it out and get some auto, aperture priority, shutter speed, everything, and just take some pictures and have fun. Change the film emulations. Bleach bypass is amazing in this too. Um, Video specs are keep up with any mirrorless camera. 4K 24, 4K 60, 6.2K open gate. I mean, I couldn't even do 6.2K open gate on my FX30 at all. It didn't even have a 6K mode to do, to utilize. So this thing is really fun, really lightweight, incredible. It feels like when you put the grip on it, it feels like it can be a nice workhorse camera. It's not going to cause you a lot of headaches holding it and being super heavy. So it's a perfect travel camera, perfect content creation camera, perfect personal project camera. It really, really is awesome. And of course, like, look, if I keep it, I'm gonna make money with it. So professional is are you working? That's up to you. I made thousands of dollars with my FX30. That camera's not $7,000. That was like $1,700. It's about using it. You got to use the camera. Shooting with it gives me such a characterful image on top of this lens that when you shoot with this lens wide open, it's super full of character, and it just doesn't look like any of my other images, and that's what I love. And then I can just grab it and take photos, and it's so much fun. Portable, like it's less than 2 pounds. You can take that everywhere. It's non-obvious. It's just super simple, especially if you put a pancake lens and you're just gonna travel and get some photos and some simple videos and B-roll and stuff like that. If you're traveling and stuff, it is truly an amazing camera.